How you live your life is medicine. Some people think our cells only behave from our DNA. That's not it. We now know that energetically, how we live our life, our energetic being actually causes biochemical changes in our body to be able to make changes in our DNA. When we have positive, nurturing relationships, it increases oxytocin in our body, the love hormone. And when you do that, you're sending your brain a very powerful message. You're telling your brain, this default survival program, that you are safe, that you are loved, and you're connected. If you stop thinking about you and thinking about how you could serve other people, it will shift the way you feel. And when we just live for ourselves and not care about anyone else, there's a condition in that in medicine. It's called
Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kien Vuu. I'm a triple board certified MD and a performance and longevity expert.
Can you tell us about longevity?
Yes, longevity. It's one of these things that people think is about living a long life, but it's not just that. It's actually how we maintain our physical, mental, and emotional health even as we age. Some people don't understand this, but they live in a world where they make choices that actually accelerate their aging. But how we live our life can actually be medicine. That how we live our life, the choices that we make in our sleep, nutrition, movement, our community, our sense of purpose actually creates a state in our body that sends messages to our DNA. And that gives us access to living a long life and also performing at our best.
What is human consciousness?
Human consciousness is a great topic to discuss. It wasn't something that I was aware of until probably my late 30s. I'm a medical doctor. At the height of my career, I was chief of interventional radiology at my hospital, going around the world speaking on the latest interventional radiology and advanced surgeries. But at that point in my life, I was overweight, diabetic, had high blood pressure, and I was on several prescription medications. What did it tell me? And what did I realize thereafter? That I was living a life because of old programming of I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, and I was constantly chasing success. And the choices that I was making was coming from this unconscious survival, fear-based program in my brain that was creating disease in my body. And it was when I was able to wake up, become conscious of how I was living my life that I could start to change. So consciousness is really an awareness of the energy, the awareness of the state that we are in. And that energetic state not only speaks to every single cell in our body, but it radiates outwards to all the human beings, which are cells in the body that is the collective ecosystem that is humanity. This is consciousness, and if we could tap into that, we can not only control our internal biology, but start to shift the world around us as well.
And how can we do that?
Our energetic states are a clue to our internal states. So sometimes when we feel angry, when we feel sad, if we're not conscious, we might take and make meaning that something outside is making us feel that way. But when we could start to become conscious of our emotions, that they're just indicators of our body, we can do the following. There are things that we can do to change the energetic state in our body. There are 5 pillars: physical, which includes sleep, nutrition, movement; our emotional state, our mental state, our social state, how we interact with others, and whether or not we are serving the world as a cell that's serving the other cells of the human body. We start to shift our state, and when we can understand we could shift our states, guess what? We start to shift the energy that every single cell is listening to. With our energetic states, our cells hear, are we safe? Can we thrive? Or is it dangerous outside and we need to survive? Once we become to understand that our consciousness is within our control, new possibilities happen.
What do people learn by coming to this conference?
What people are going to learn from my talk at the conference is really this, that how we live our life, who we are being, our energetic states. And there's a part of our biology as human beings, part of our brain and nervous system that protects us from the things that hurt us. There's a fear and survival-based thing that is defaultly programmed in our brain. And those programs come from our parents, our teachers, society, all these things just downloaded, even though they're good or bad. And the thing is, because it's constantly looking for fear, it's always looking out for what can hurt us, that thing remains on. And all these negative thoughts and programs are remaining on. And if you're unconsciously living your life in that stress, fear, and survival state, you bring disease into your body. You might wreck your relationships. You might live a life that creates disease in your body, like myself. So I want people to understand that how you choose to live your life in 5 areas can significantly change your energetic state, allowing you to have access of the biological machinery that is performance and longevity. I study the people in the blue zones. These are people all over the world that live the longest. And Dan Beutner, the author of the Blue Zones, noticed similarities as to why they were living so long. They had rituals to deal with stress. They had a deep connection with friends, family, and a tribe. They were moving all day naturally. They all had a sense of purpose. And so how they were living their life was actually their medicine. And with my medical background, I started to study how we live our life in certain areas actually shifts the epigenetics that our cells actually are exposed to. So here's the thing. I discovered the patterns that the people live in the blue zones actually shift our biology. And yes, one, it's physical. Getting enough sleep and good rest replenishes our body. Moving our body every day is completely important for us to get circulation and remove toxins. Our ability to eat nutritious foods that give optimal nutrition to every cell is very important. That's the physical stuff. Emotions are the gateway of our internal signals. It gives us a portal to our consciousness. And being able to recognize them, well, we can say, oh, okay, my body's actually telling me this. I can now respond differently. Our thoughts. We can't control 95% of those negative thoughts that come in every single day because it's coming from that default mode. But what can we do? We can shift the focus where we put the flashlight on the thoughts. Are we focusing on things that we have or we don't? Are we focusing on things that we control versus not? Because when you shift your focus, you shift the way you feel. Again, you shifting your energetic state taps you into that thing. Our communities, when we have positive, nurturing relationships, it increases oxytocin in our body, the love hormone, and that's a critical hormone for longevity and health. And lastly, that sense of purpose. And what is that? Purpose is really about sharing you, the authentic you, your gifts, your talents with other people. And when you do that, you're sending your brain a very powerful message. You're telling your brain, this default survival program, that you are safe, that you are loved, and you're connected. And when you can do that, you quiet down that fear-based response, and you become that best version of you. Doing those things in those 5 pillars of life shift your energy. And when you shift your energy, you not only shift your biology, but you shift the world around you as well.
Why do you think that all this information are out right now?
Ancient wisdom has always been around. We have people living in the blue zones for so many years. It's been around for generations, but we have forgotten. We have big corporations and people trying to buy your attention, and people then lose the ability to have focus, to have intention, to have attention, and then they forget. And all these ancient wisdoms suddenly become woo-woo. There's no proof for that. But this is an amazing time. As a doctor and a scientist, being able to study epigenetics and what happens to our DNA, we now know that energetically, how we live our life, our energetic being, actually causes biochemical changes in our body to be able to make changes in our DNA. So I think the information is becoming more available because the science is starting to match up with the spirituality, allowing us to know that we have infinite possibilities. A lot of our growth comes from our biggest challenges. Our wake up comes from recognizing that maybe we are asleep. And at the most critical time in my life where I thought I would have achieved all these things to make my life a success, being chief of interventional radiology at my hospital, buying a dream car, buying a dream house, I found myself broken, overweight, diabetic, high blood pressure on several prescription medications. And I looked myself in the mirror and I didn't like the person I was. I didn't feel like I was being myself. It was really at that moment that I realized I needed to wake up from something. Something needed to change drastically. I started to make little tiny changes as I noticed a shift in my energetic state. Then I started to study more. The biology of belief came into my life, and I started to understand a little bit more of that science. There is science backing up how we live our life as medicine. And so it was a gradual process I feel like the universe gives us gifts with slapping you with a cosmic 2x4 when you are asleep to allow you to start to wake up. So my steps into stepping into consciousness was really the struggles and challenges I've been gifted with, because at the end of them, those struggles and challenges, you know that the universe is giving you an opportunity to grow. And in those opportunities now, I have the honor of being able to share that message of how we live our life as medicine with others.
Can you tell me how can people evolve their consciousness?
Some people feel like consciousness is only available to monks who meditate for hours and hours. We don't have to start there. See, consciousness is really about our energetic state and being aware and being able to regulate and change our energetic states. For example, if I just shift my posture, if my shoulders were down and I was talking at a low level, I noticed there's a certain energy there. All of a sudden, if I shift my body, just my posture, up, shoulders back, get in the power pose, I could feel different. There's actually a study from Harvard demonstrating that if you put yourself in a power pose for just 2 minutes, you actually lower your stress hormones by 20%. You elevate the confidence hormone, testosterone, from up to 25%, and you're 30% more likely to take action on your goals. That's just posture alone. But if you add movement all of a sudden, I teach people a practice called laughter yoga, where we're clapping, where we're laughing, even if you don't feel like it. But all of a sudden, you create endorphins in your body and you change the way you feel. If you sleep better, if you eat better, if you started nurturing positive relationship in your life, if you stop thinking about you and thinking about how you could serve other people, it will shift the way you feel. The ability to know that you could shift the way you feel are different access points into our consciousness. And ultimately, yes, we could probably sit down for 4 hours, but it doesn't have to start there. So there's many ways to be able to tap into our consciousness.
What is the biggest misconception about consciousness?
The biggest misconception about consciousness is that it's only reserved for monks. It's only reserved for a very select few that transcend other humans in the world, and that can't be further from the truth. Every one of us, every single cell in our body has consciousness, so that's who we are. We as human beings can be able to start to tap into that and rediscover that. The beautiful journey of human life is that we are born and we have all this possibility, but we also have a very old reptilian-style brain that is always looking out for danger and fear and learning things from the environment. But it's the beautiful experience to remember who you are. So consciousness is available for everybody once they start to remember their authentic self. In my lectures and workshops, I teach lots of different techniques to be able to tap into self. But one of the most powerful things that I have people do is take 10 deep breaths using a 4-7-8 pattern. 4 seconds into the nose, hold for 7, and then a long exhale for 8 out through your mouth as if you were blowing through a straw. What that does is it activates your parasympathetic nervous system and you're still. And in that still place, feel the feeling of I am safe, that I am loved, and that I am connected. If you can truly feel those 3 things, you're basically quieting down that part of your brain that is a fear and survival place to put you back into who you are.
If you could leave the audience with one thing from your talk, what would it be?
If I could leave people with one thing, I would say to them that how you live your life is medicine. So remember to create a beautiful masterpiece for life in the choices that you make, because that's not only medicine for you, but it's medicine for humanity. Epigenetics is a phenomena that gives us power to our biology. So some people think our cells only behave from our DNA. We get one strand from mom, one strand from dad, and that drives how a cell behaves. That's not it. Our cells are constantly listening. The DNA in there is listening to its environment of what's going on. And based on this cellular environment, it then cues, you should turn on this gene, turn off that gene, do this, and then so the cell responds to its external environment. Epigenetics tells us this, that our cellular phenotype, our longevity, our health, our performance, how our cells behave, is secondary to its external environment and not within its DNA. This gives us access, this empowers us to create choices, to create an energetic state, the environment of our cells. Through our choices, if we can start to control that, we basically control our cellular health. We're basically giving the state of optimal health, longevity, and peak performance if we can make those conscious choices. Because one of the things we need to wake up to is that we are not just one single cell surviving on our own. That really, we are one single cell that's inside the body of our families, of our teams, of humanity itself is one big organism, and we are the cell. And when we just live for ourselves and not care about anyone else, there's a condition in that in medicine. It's called cancer. But if we remember that we are part of something bigger, that why we are here is to contribute to the larger body, that's the beauty. And that's going to allow us to evolve into the next versions of ourselves.